Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I have the first two cards in our 5 card spread? First two cards we are starting off today with are the Seven of Swords in its reversal, in combination with our Justice card in its upright. Let's talk a little bit about this energy that we're seeing right now. I like Mars and Venus in Capricorn together. Okay? Together. Now, Mars and Venus in Capricorn together is all about passion project. It's about being able to articulate upon the things that we are energetically passionate about. It's being able to put that force of intention towards things. The thing we want to be conscientious about, and I'm just going to keep on bringing this up right now, is Mars and Venus in Capricorn is good. The hard thing that we may be experiencing right now is the fact that Mercury is still in Sagittarius, because it creates the feeling of trying to play energetic catch up, right? I would not be surprised right now if you're going through that modality of feeling like busy, like trying to do a million different things at once. Because at the same time that we're going through all of this energy right now, we have a lot of planets that have recently come out of retrograde. So I want you to be kind of conscientious about that. I want you to, like, if you're feeling that, your journey is not a race, okay? You are exactly where you need to be. So being able to do something in such a way that one is able to kind of like work towards, like keeping pace. This is beautiful energy for planning. This is a beautiful energy for catching up on things. This is a beautiful energy for building into new routines. I'm going to say it again. I've been saying this for days. What it is not a good energy for. And it's even good to have emotional conversations about new directions. Okay? Emotional conversations about new directions. What you want to avoid in energy like this is emotionally driven conversations that lack direction. Okay? You want to avoid emotionally driven conversations that lack direction, because we're seeing that this is the culmination of a lot of moon relationships. There's a lot of that energy or that sense of intensity or the deepening that we see is occurring at this time. And what we effectively identify or recognize that's happening in a lot of those modalities or experiences is the observation of how beautiful it can be when we're building into relationships by which we feel a lot of intensity of emotion, and we build into the context of the emotion by creating new directions. Now, coming towards the energy right now, we're going to be reading into it because we see that this is a culmination, a lot of those moon relationships. Bearing in mind that when we talk about moon relationships right now, we're talking about the relationships that have been coming together since the time that Uranus was in retrograde up until the present. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Star card, and it is in the center of the spread. So what are we effectively seeing that's happening right now? Now, for these moon relationships, we've got 3 different modalities that are effectively happening right now. And I'm going to say some energy is going through one, some energy is going through another, some energy is going through both at the same time. I see that a lot of the focus point of a lot of these relationships is being able to work upon the understanding of the fact that and I need to stress this, these relationships that have been coming together during this period, it has been one thing, the hits keep on coming. It's been one thing after another. The retrograde often creates modalities not only by which we experience frustrations or challenges as it relates to planning, but further also going through those experiences by which we work through or we feel a lot of that energetic intensity in relationality to going through experiences that feel triggering, specifically because they feel connected to trauma that we've experienced. things that feel like they energetically hurt more. And often it's the modality by which something feels distorted because of old pain. But that ability of being able to move through something with a sense of proportionality, right? Allowing for the context of here, of like allowing the work of the self to energetically fortify one's own energetic endeavors. What we effectively see that is occurring in a lot of those modalities and experiences right now is relationships that are deepening based upon the energetic patience that they bring towards one another. And that sense of patience, that sense of granularity, that sense of being able to effectively work through the modality by which they constantly work to make something energetically as smooth for one another as possible. We just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that energetic smoothness point, or that ability to effectively find like that ability to work towards refinement, they have become each other's peace. And that modality by which they find peace for each other, it's a communication or continuation of the understanding that peace is never found, right? You can't find peace anywhere. You work towards it, right? You prioritize it. That's why those who prioritize peace find peace, because they're constantly working towards it. It's not the fact that they're like, oh look, I found this peace. It's a fact that they're constantly working. And if you want to find peace, begin refining things, right? You start to work on the refinement of the self. You start to work on the refinement of the relationships around the self. So for a lot of those energies, I keep on seeing that it's a profound time. It's a beautiful time, because these could be relationships by which they're finally, and I want to say this, I feel like these energies are finally having an opportunity to enjoy the peace that they've been working to create for one another. Now, I do see there may be some separations that are occurring during this time. And what are we seeing with the separations that may be occurring during this time? I see potentially someone, like energy that's at a distance, that comes back with emotions, and somebody looking at them and saying, I know you brought emotions, but did you bring peace? Did you bring peace? Because what happens when we work through our emotions? Our emotions feel like peace to those who experience them when our emotions have directions attached to them, right? The emotionality by which we're able to energetically articulate or refine or define upon something, that's the space by which things become energetically possible. So we see that for a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations, that ability of effectively articulating and being able to the ability to effectively articulate upon the plans, or working through the emotions that have plans connected to them. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, there's something very energetically beautiful that's occurring. But even in the space by which they're the understanding of that, it's the journey of the self, right? It's the understanding, like I keep on hearing, the modality by which we don't need to take an energetic break to sort out our feelings as it relates to relationship, right? It's the modality by which we work on the emotions within the relationship, but often the capacity by which we feel a lot of energetic intensity that feels almost like the space by which we ourselves are not necessarily ready to navigate it. I feel like there's a lot of that energy that is potentially working to heal from relationships that were effectively demarcated by the need of having to take separations from the relationship. Because it's a continuation of the understanding that a healthy relationship, you don't need to move away from it to do the work on the self. You go deeper within it. So for a lot of those relationships, that is potentially coming into a space of healing that is allowing another to either let go of something that feels too disruptive, right? The emotional journey that feels like it disrupts instead of brings closer together, while at the same time working on the context of the self in relationality to the fact that we do that work within so that our love feels like love without. For some energy right now, it's going through both of those modalities at once. Moving towards those temperance relationships, and those temperance relationships were the relationships that were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde up until the time of the solstice that we experienced this summer. We've got the Eight of of Swords in its upright. And we've got the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, I like this because there's something really important that we see that's happening right now for a lot of those temperance relationships. And a lot of them are the amplification and communication of understanding what it means when we're effectively working to bring like the gift of patience that the counterparts are providing to one another. For a lot of those relationships, I just keep on seeing that the hard part that we're currently going through right now, and I'm going to keep on saying this, it's not that we're going through a Venus in retrograde cycle. We're not going through one, but you'd be surprised because the experience of the replication of the energy that one might feel during a Venus in retrograde cycle can often feel very, very similar to what we're effectively experiencing now. It's the modality or the understanding. It's working into the context of the energetic similarity of this particular energy. And the hard part about this energy that we're experiencing is with Mercury with Venus between Mercury and Mars, it can often feel like an energetic frustration point because it feels very similar to one. So the ability of being hard on the self or feeling like the sense of being overly hard on the self, what is the gift that the counterparts are effectively providing to one another? A sense of proportionality in relationality to how they perceive the self versus how they themselves are perceived, right? It's the clarity of perception that is being provided by the healthy counterpart connection. And so for a lot of those energies, working through that, and I keep on getting two different modalities, either navigating the false perception of the self or navigating the false perception of another who is projecting upon the self. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that ability of building into the healthy perspective that is built upon the counterpart that serves as anchor, right? These are very anchored partnerships, which means the fact is like they articulate upon the fact that they hold each other energetically steady, even through a lot of those modalities or experiences by which another feels like effectively rocked by, again, one's own emotionality in relationality to the time it takes on our own journeys. Now, this brings us to those magician relationships. And those magician relationships were effectively coming together between the time of the solstice period coming together between the time of the solstice period up until the time of Mercury and Venus stationing direct behind Neptune. So that was around, that was around March of this year. Can I get one card to clarify? We've got the Nine of Pentacles in its reversal. So the thing that I keep on seeing in relationality to a lot of that energy that's deep within divine union right now is, and I want to describe it. The hard part with this type of energy right now is if you haven't done your shadow work effectively, this energy can feel like projection central, right? There's a lot of energy. Like the thing is, and we have to understand this, Neptune and Saturn coming out of retrograde, Neptune and Saturn coming out of retrograde in Pisces can often create those modalities or experiences by which we feel very energetically laden down by the past. That's the best way I can describe it, right? It can create like a lot of those feelings by which we feel a lot of the weight of the past that feels like it weighs heavily upon us. But the nice thing about, and I keep on hearing, like especially for a lot of those magician relationships, the relationship that makes one stronger, right? Like I keep on seeing that this is the energy that looks towards counterpart, and they see counterpart not just in the space of the connection that they feel energetically stabilized in, but the modality by which they have the strength to carry the past within them, right? the modality or the experience by which they're able to effectively move towards something. But not just moving towards something, I need to point out. It's the observation of being able to understand and to see how much they themselves have changed. They're potentially, I keep on hearing, they're going through the experience of working through the strength of their own sense of change while also having to navigate the projections of others that are upset that they have, right? That's what we see that often happens in relationality to a maturation cycle, right? The energy that is effectively maturing. And even in the modality by which they're maturing, they're feeling the additional force or the additional weight of another person potentially projecting onto them for having the energetic audacity to change. But this is what we talk about in the understanding of the self and helping us understand what is healthy versus what is not. A healthy journey is one that welcomes change. The relationships that we build upon ourselves are those that often embrace the energetic changes that are surrounding the self, right? Those changes that feel like they come into the space by which we ourselves are identifying what that feeling of profoundness is. But those modalities and experiences, then this is what we talk about in terms of understanding a healing journey, can sometimes feel like a heartbreaking experience because the modality by which we understand and recognize that we're changing in positive ways. And then you sometimes have an issue with someone and you say, what's that person's issue? I got healthy, got into a good relationship, started taking better care of the self, right? The observation of understanding the disruptive point that often happens in the painful experience of having to articulate to another that the issue that potentially is arising between you and another person isn't the space. It isn't the space by which there's something there, but it's the amplification that care shouldn't break things that are healthy, right? Care shouldn't break things that are healthy, but it often calls attention to what is not. So we see that for a lot of that energy, working through that capacity or working through those experiences, I keep on seeing it feels like there's energy that's moving towards supportive partnership. I would not be surprised right now if a lot of those relationships are building into new energetic connections. And those connections that we see are articulated or amplified by the observation that the prioritization, right? The prioritization of care of the self shouldn't come at the energetic cost of the energetic relationships that are surrounding the self. So it's hard for a lot of that energy right now, because I would not be surprised if some of those magician relationship feel like they're moving into hermit mode. Continuing to get clarification between our Justice card and our Star card in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the 8 of Wands in its reversal. So we've got a lot of 8 energy on the table right now. And the thing that we identify with the 8 energy is it's the observation, and we want to describe this. This is this energy is liminal. All right. It's liminal energy right now. And the thing is, liminal energy can often create, how do I describe it? Liminal energy often can create that feeling like stagnancy and liminality sometimes feel the same. And the nice thing is when we've worked on healing ourselves, we recognize that there is no stagnancy, right? Stagnancy is an illusion. Right? Because when you bring productivity to stagnant states, it becomes liminal, right? It's the modality by which one understands that is the space by which one can operate. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, kind of working through those modalities or experiences. That's what I meant in relationality to I like Mars and Venus in Capricorn, because Mars and Venus in Capricorn can often, the best way I can describe it is it's passion project energy, right? It's being able to put your heart into something that you energetically care about. And the thing about it is, And this is why we can see, and that's why I kept on saying, like, make sure in this energy you are having productive conversation. Make sure you're having productive conversations as it relates to energetic, like how we move towards care. Because the one thing we keep on seeing with energy like this is emotions without directions are not received as gifts. They're often received as modalities of energetic confusion. And I keep on seeing too that a lot of the work that we effectively articulate or amplify, and I want to describe this right now for a lot of those moon relationships that are moving deeper into energetic connection. The thing that I keep on hearing, and this was coming through as well. I keep on getting this message is coming through with moon relationships. The beauty of a gift is that there's nothing energetically attached to it. Like, that's why it's a gift. A gift is something that we energetically give, and we don't have an expectation of something that's on the other side of it, right? It's the observation of something that we effectively articulate or move towards. And so that's what I keep on seeing that's happening right now, particularly and especially as it relates to energetic separation points, because I would not be surprised right now if there's some energy that's building into healthy relationship and they're articulating to another in the context of partnership how another's emotions feel like they're gifts. And what does it feel like when our emotions are gifts? Our emotions are gifts when there are clear directions attached to them, right? Like the energy, I feel like I can see like these moon relationships are moving closer to one another because they're saying how easy, right? How easy it is. Like, and that's why we often talk about one of the most beautiful things we can hear when we're building into a loving connection is the articulation of someone identifying how easy it is. Because do you know how hard it is to be easy? Do you know how much work it takes on the self to be able to transmit the emotions to each other, but have the clear directions attached to them? There's no greater energetic gift because it's the simplification of the fact that it's the feeling that our emotions are gifts. But when we don't have directions attached to our emotions, we give each other emotions and it feels like we drop gauntlets, right? It feels like we give them to another to be able to have to deal with. We give them to another and now they're their energetic problem, right? And that's the thing about it. We don't drop emotions onto each other because when we drop emotions onto each other, it's like we're dropping gauntlets, right? We make things more confusing. We make things more difficult. We make things more energetically challenging for one another. But whereas when we articulate upon how we feel and there are clear directions attached to the way we feel, our emotions become beautiful, right? They become something that feels like they're immediately energetically shared by all of those around us. So I feel like there's a lot of this energy, like these relationships, and I keep on getting 3 different modalities that are potentially happening right now in the context of relationship. And the first one being energy that's articulating and moving deeper into connection with another by amplifying the gift that another's emotions are. Potentially even saying to someone for the first time in experience. I can see the energy being like, this is the first time someone has given me emotions that feel like gifts instead of gauntlets. And I just want to thank you. Right? Like how beautiful that is. When it feels like our emotions become gifts, I see some separation in modality to another, articulating the fact that another feels that those are the emotions that they keep receiving from another don't feel like gifts, but feel like they're gauntlets, right? The pain, and this is why we talk about no two emotions are alike, because emotion should never be a challenge space, right? Emotion should never create the complication within us in terms of another giving them to us and then us feeling uncertain about what to do with them. But often that happens when someone isn't doing the internal work to understand their emotions properly. It's the nature of projection. So we see that for a lot of those relationships, for a lot of those situations, the ability of effectively someone trying to come back, right? This is what we talk about. When someone does not give us emotions, right? And then they show up and they're like, I brought the emotions. Like, I'm ready to talk about them, right? I'm ready to give you the emotions. It's not the fact that they should be there. They should be there the whole time, right? When it feels like we have to like pull the emotions out of another, right? It creates the space by which we feel even more complex. We feel even more confused when they energetically arrive, because it feels like the emotions arrive like late is what I keep on seeing. It's like the emotions that often feel like they arrive late to the relationship. So for a lot of those modalities or a lot of those experiences, being able to articulate or amplify situations and circumstances in that modality, right? The amplification or the articulation of working through something, that the emotions that feel like they don't heal but rather further complicate. I keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that is what's allowing someone to be able to heal, because it's the observation of the difference between the emotions that feel like a point of celebration versus the energy that feels like they're not working through their emotions and things always get more complicated. I see some energy right now going through both of those modalities at once. Continuing to get clarification between our star card and the Eight of Swords in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Cups in its reversal. So let's talk a bit about this energy that we're seeing in relationality to the work that we're identifying and recognizing right now. So for a lot of these relationships, that we're effectively seeing, and I want to we're moving back towards those temperance partnerships. The temperance relationships, I keep on seeing the hard part with this energy right now is working into the space of projections. And the problem is, and I keep on getting this with temperance relationships, that the hard thing about projections is that we carry others' projections of ourselves with us. Like, that's the hard part about it. We can have modalities. I keep on getting this. We can have experiences where somebody says something to us that's so painful, that's so untrue, but that we carry within ourselves, right? Because it's the understanding that the weight of projections, right? Even in the context by which something isn't true, it still energetically hurts, right? Like that, the misperception, right? And I keep on seeing there's something that's interesting that's happening right now for a lot of those temperance relationships. And it's a conversation of the personal responsibility that we hold towards others' misperceptions of us, right? And this is what I keep on seeing. And this is the type of conversation that I see that is happening right now for energy and temperance relationships. The problem is that when someone is trying to project upon the self, they will misperceive you, even as you're doing everything in your power to be energetically intentional towards them. This is the projection spiral, by the way. Pay attention to the energetic projection spiral, because the energetic projection spiral that often occurs is the modality by which another person desires to misperceive you, right? And then what do you often feel the inclination to do? You bend over backwards to try to alleviate the energetic misperception of another, right? And then in the modality by which you bend over backwards to try to alleviate the energetic misperception of another, what often happens? Somebody articulates it that you are then being energetically performative, right? It is literally the energetic projection spiral by which you recognize and identify that nothing, and this is the shape of trauma, right? The shape of trauma is such that nothing you can do can clarify another person's misperceptions of you. And often the most painful part about that is even in the journey of trying to clarify their misperceptions, they will find more falsity in the context by which they see you energetically working to try to clarify the misperception. And this is why I keep on seeing that for a lot of this energy, they're saying to one another, don't worry, right? Because it talks about the fact that when we care about each other, we don't sit on misperception. we work towards understanding, right? We don't rest our loyal. Like when we are working towards healing, we don't rest our laurels on misperception. We work for comprehension. We work for clarification. We work into the capacity or the ability to effectively allow another to understand and identify something in a greater fashion. So that's why I see this energy, right? Seeing, like potentially, this is temperance relationships, potentially seeing a situation by which they're navigating another's false perceptions of them. And what are they saying to each other in the midst of another person's misperceptions? Hold steady, right? Don't allow another individual who has set their priority on misperceiving you to be a place where you put all of your energetic attention, right? That's effectively what we see that's happening with a lot of those relationships. And that ability, right? That ability of effectively working towards something, but helping to effectively stay energetically centered, either in, and I'm going to point this out, situations from the past, right? Energetic situations from the past by which another person still carries those wounds, which is often what we can experience with Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, or something energetically happening in the present. I keep on seeing that is the energy that is helping to heal by being able to articulate the fact that they see each other with a sense of clarity. Continuing to get clarification for those magician relationships between our Eight of Swords in combination with the Wheel of Fortune in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Tower. Getting back towards those magician relationships, remembering that these are the relationships that were coming together between the time of the solstice this summer up until the time of Mercury and Venus stationing direct behind Neptune. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations, the modality or the ability of working into, and this is a continuation because we see a lot of alignment that's currently happening right now. I just keep on seeing that for a lot of those relationships, that, how do I describe this best? The modality or the ability to effectively, like I keep on getting a lot of that energy is working in the context of navigating a breakthrough. And here's the thing about it. I got to show you. We've got the Wheel of Fortune with the Tower card, right? We've got the Wheel of Fortune. We've got the Wheel of Fortune with the Tower card. And what is the Wheel of Fortune with the Tower card? It's the energy. It's the energy that works through. It's the energy that works through the understanding of going through a moment of personal expansion, right? And what happens, and here's the funny thing with a point of expansion. Are you going through a breakthrough or a breakdown? Yes. Are you going through a breakthrough or a breakdown? I don't know, what time is it? I don't know, what time is it? Right now or like in an hour, right? Are you going through a breakthrough or a breakdown? I don't know. What time is it? Well, at the moment, at the moment, often that's how it feels, right? Because it's working through the context of big feelings, right? It's working through the context of big feelings, right? So there's a lot of those modalities or experiences that I see a lot of that energy that's working through. And I keep on getting, for a lot of those situations and circumstances, that ability of effectively, I keep on hearing like that ability of effectively like working into the process of energetic expansion. Like there's a lot of that energy that's effectively articulating and defining that they're potentially going through an expansive moment. And the thing is, when you're going through an expansive moment, there are things that energetically frustrate the self, and then there are modalities that feel like they energetically liberate the self. And I keep on seeing that the gift that they're finding is that clarification of perspective, right? They're maintaining a sense of energetic perspective on things. And the perspective is, I feel like, the perspective itself is the gift that they're finding in the space of being in healthy partnership. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with the Seven of Swords in its reversal. So we've got a lot of 7 energy on the table right now, and we've got a lot of 8 energy. So what do we see with a lot of 7 energy and a lot of 8 energy? 7 and 8 energy, it's working into the context of, it's working through the context of energetically progressive, right? It's working through the context of what feels energetically progressive. And the thing about it is, and I want to describe this, the frustration point of the energy that we're experiencing right now is it feels very much like, I just keep on saying, it feels very much like those modalities or those experiences by which I feel like it's often the experience of working through the energetic past, right? It's working through a lot of that emotionality. It's working through a lot of those energetic feelings. But the beauty that happens, and I keep on seeing this, particularly moving towards those moon relationships, right? The observation of energetically, the space by which we heal is not, I keep on hearing, the space at which we heal is not the fact, right? It's not the space by which you wake up one day and you're a whole different person, right? Healing is slow. Healing is incremental, right? You can't go cold turkey on your healing journey, is what I keep on hearing. Which is the modality by which you catch yourself, right? Like that is, like, imagine, like that is the beauty of a healing journey. It's catching yourself falling into old patterns. It's observing others slipping into old forms, right? It's a modality by which we energetically catch ourselves prior to effectively moving back towards something that often is the amplification of the energy in terms of understanding the progress that we find within ourselves, right? Those modalities or experiences by which we often articulate or recognize something that we're energetically working towards, like those abilities, like that adaptability, we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like that is the nature of energetically transforming, right? Something that you imagine the space where you appreciate that something that you used to do, like something that you used to do unconsciously, you then are working very carefully to resolve upon conscientiously, is often the modality by which you catch yourself effectively doing something, and then you work through it in a different capacity, right? It's the understanding or the observation of the gift that we have in relationality to that work. And that's why I keep on seeing, this is what I mean about these relationships that are coming into fruition right now, right? They see each other closing the energetic distance, right? And what do we understand with energetically closing the distance? It's working into the context of being able to articulate, right? It's not the fact that things are perfect, right? It's not the fact that things are perfect, but the modality by which they catch them, like the modality by which they see, right? When things feel like they're about to careen, right? The space by which in the past they would have careened like away, but instead coming into the space by which one is just able to effectively like move towards something in a better way. Like this is the beauty about it. Like they recognize, I keep on seeing these relationships are built upon the refinement of the self. It's a combination of the last 2 energetic cycles. And what is the combination of the last 2 energetic cycles? When you take authenticity, it's not enough to be authentic, right? Because you can be an authentic jerk. It's not enough to be authentic. But when you combine authenticity with a sense of empathy, right? When you combine authenticity with a sense of one's own energetic, like the mutual effort that pays off in big ways, what do you find? You find harmony, right? You find harmony. These are these are harmonious relationships, because it's not just, it's the modality by which they're working towards the harmony of the self. And the harmony that they work for within the self is a gift that is experienced outside the self. And it doesn't mean that they're perfect, right? Because perfection is an illusion, but it's the ability for them to recognize and identify, like they have clarity on, they know, right? This is the energy that goes, I know myself. I know what one, like it's the space by which the energy goes, I make it my business to know what is something I'm working on versus something that I'm working with, is what I keep on hearing. The difference, inside problem versus outside problem, right? And this is what's beautiful, right? Because when we know ourselves, we know what we're working with. And we also know when another person's trying to project on us and be like, that's not mine, that's yours. Okay, respectfully, that's yours. I care about you, but that's yours, right? Now, continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Two of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. We've got here the Death card. Woo! Got heavy energy right now. That's an intense pillar. So, and this is what we can expect. I'm not upset to see the Death card here too, because that's what we can often expect with Uranus retrograding in Taurus, right? The frustration on the change that often feels like it's not happening fast enough, right? The modality or the experience by which we work upon. And here's the thing about it. We always, when you know what? When you're in a healthy space, you'll always be upset that you're not changing fast enough, right? Like that is the way it works. And this is why I keep on seeing that for a lot of that energy, moving deeper into union, a lot of those temperance relationships, the effective gift that they give one another is the clarity in terms of being able to articulate to each other how far they have come, right? I've got energy here. I've literally got energy here that is sitting there and they're getting hard on themselves, like temperance relationships that are getting hard on themselves because they're seeing something that they're not moving fast enough towards. And the energy, and what is the counterpart doing in that modality? See how far you've come. Get a grip. Get a grip. Get a grip, right? Because the ability to get a grip, and when we say like get a grip, is often working towards the exit, like the like I told you, Mars and Venus. Like, oh, I'm so like I want something. Like it's the identification point of working on something and feeling the energetic frustration of stagnancy. And what is the counterpart doing to one another? Getting a grip by saying, how do you get a grip? See how far you've come. Recognize how far you have traveled, right? Don't get mad about how far you have to go. Take this moment and opportunity to celebrate the energetic accomplishments. And I know it's hard right now, right? I know it's hard right now with Mars and Venus, like Mars and Venus in Capricorn being like, I don't have time to look back. I'm too busy looking forward, right? I don't have time to look back. So continuing to do that work right now, continuing to get clarification between the Two of Cups and its upright with the Tower card and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Oh, clarification coming through right now with our Page of Cups in its reversal. So the thing I keep on seeing, like particularly and especially, and we got to get back to these magician relationships, because these magician relationships, and I wish I could, like, my heart goes out to a lot of these magician relationships. Navigating the weight of another person's projections, and I can kind of see this is what's happening, right? For some of this energy, the modality by which they feel like someone's coming towards them in the space by which they identify that they feel like something is wrong. And I keep on hearing our lips are blessed. Right? Why are our lips blessed? Our lips are blessed because if we have a real problem is one that should feel good coming out here. Okay? That's what a real problem is. Okay? A real problem is something that when you articulate upon it, it feels good to talk about it, right? It feels good. It's like I can talk about it and it's beautiful. It becomes energetically blessed. Because when we're going through something by which it doesn't feel good to talk about, it's usually a sign that the work, right? What direction does the work need to be? It needs to be inside. Inside problem versus an outside problem. And so I just keep on seeing circumstances or situations by which another person is like, they're in, like, here's the thing, the magicians are talking about the fact that their lips are blessed, which is the space by which they're saying that they're talking about something like very, like, in a big way. They're just articulating upon it. They're speaking through it. They're helping that modality by which they're recognizing or working towards something in such a way that it's like, I see the energy that's fortifying. They're building into the fortified relationship because they're talking through things, and they're feeling the sense by which they feel energetically stabilized and feeling a certain way. And so I keep on seeing that this is a continuation, and there's a lot of alignment that I'm seeing right now between the temperance and the magician relationships, which often when I start to see alignment, we recognize that there's an energetic shift that's occurring, right? We see that there's a shift because I hear the energy saying to each other deep within union, remember, like, identify the projection spiral. And what is the energetic projection spiral, right? The modality by which another person, it feels like anything you do isn't the right thing to do, right? The modality of another being trapped in their ego about something. The way you can usually identify that someone's deep in their ego about something is usually clarified by the observation of what you could do to energetically alleviate it, right? The modality by which you recognize, or the space by which you start talking about something and you state, nothing I seem to do ever feels like the right thing to do. The answer is yes. That's a trauma environment, right? That is the song you will hear in a trauma environment. The song of a trauma environment is everything you do feels like it's the wrong thing to do. There's no healthy path, right? Oh, nope, right? It's the modality by which we work through those experiences. And so I keep on seeing the observation, like I see like this energy is becoming energetically prescriptive. They're identifying, they're being like, that's what that is. Like, that's what that is. And once you see it, like once you identify it, right, it hurts, right? I see the energy going like, it hurts. But some things are just meant to hurt, right? And often when you recognize that, it's allowing the context by which you can begin to heal, right? The context by which you're able to identify a situation that it feels like there's nothing that you can energetically do that doesn't allow for the context of something good to come from it. That's the space by which you can begin to heal, because it's the observation of being able to facilitate like what you bring towards it versus what you energetically refrain from. So I just keep on seeing that for a lot of that energy, it's painful. But again, this is what we see. This is what we talk about with an issue to be addressed by Saturn, because that's the energy that, again, they're holding hope that something could change, but they're not letting their hope distort the perception of whether another aspires or desires to. It's painful, but I see in a way like the energy feels fortified because they're talking, like they're speaking upon those painful circumstances or situations and going through, right? And they're going through an expansion in the process because they're observing it. Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Swords in its reversal in combination with the Death card. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Five of Swords in its reversal. So what do we see right now with the Five of Swords in its reversal? There's a lot of this energy, and I want to describe this, like, and I think it's interesting because I know everybody was asking about when this retrograde season is over, and it's like there's always typically planets that are in retrograde. So technically, the majority of the planets are not in retrograde anymore. So we're out of the retrograde season, but it's important to understand the nature of the planets that still are. Jupiter can create a lot of those spaces by which we feel hypersensitive about the self. And here's the thing about it. Hypersensitivity is not necessarily a bad thing. It depends. And this is the hard thing with Jupiter retrograding in Cancer. It depends. Not all sensitivity is the same. And this is what we have to, this is our responsibility as mature people, right? Not all sensitivity is the same, right? There is the sense, and the way you can usually amplify and articulate the sensitivity that requires good reason is the modality by which you can talk about the reason one feels sensitive about something. Sensitivity, healthy sensitivity welcomes conversation. Healthy sensitivity welcomes conversation. It is the ability by which we understand that our lips are blessed that allows the context of understanding what we feel energetically sensitive about. Because here's the thing about sensitivity. Our trauma, right, loves nothing more. Our trauma absolutely delights in disguising itself as our standards, right? You will go through something traumatizing and you will build the wrong construct of a standard around it. And then you go around and you hurt other people, right? You end up hurting other people with that trauma, identifying the trauma as a standard. And the way the responsibility that we hold towards our standards is being able to explain to another why we have one. If you are ever worried that a standard that you hold is actually trauma in disguise, explain why you hold it. Everything is healed by the space by which you explain why you are holding it. Because if you find a moment where you're holding a standard and someone says, why are you holding it? And you say, I don't have to say that to you. What? Pay attention, right? The modality by which you pause and say, I don't need to explain it, is often the space by which you're recognizing an energetic blind spot within the self, right? There it is. There's the trauma in disguise. Why is that a standard? None of your business, right? None of my business or none of your business, right? Whose business? So we see even now that working into that and being able to effectively understand that, I keep on seeing that these are a lot of energies that understand that being healthy is being energetically inquisitive. And that's what I like about these new relationships, because these moon relationships, clarification between the Death card in its upright and the Page of Cups in its reversal, nothing that can't be spoken about. Look at that Emperor card. Nothing that can't be spoken about, right? Now there's a difference. There's a difference between a difficult conversation, right? The modality between navigating a difficult conversation versus, or I keep on saying, and I want to say this too. I see some situations right now in these moon relationships with someone saying, I'm not ready to talk about it. And even in the space by which another person articulates and says, I'm not ready to talk about it, the difference I keep on hearing between someone articulating the readiness, which is the modality by which they work through something, and the modality by which they recognize that they're building themselves into the context by which they can talk about it, right? Like, it's the energy that I told you. They're constantly working towards refinement. They're constantly working towards the strength of the self. This is the energy that says, even in the modality by which there are things I'm not ready to talk about, doesn't mean that I'm not preparing myself to, right? They're getting stronger. And they see themselves actively getting stronger. These are the moon relationships that are working on closing the distance, right? They're actively, that's the energy that says they know themselves. And when we know ourselves, we have the ability to energetically close the distance within ourselves, because it's the observation of understanding what is something that we're working towards, right? Something that we're working to get better at versus something that we're letting go of, is what I keep on seeing. Now, and that's either the energy that's doing that in solitude, right? The energy in solitude that's working on knowing the self in such a profound way to be able to continue to close the distance on what one aspires to in relationality to the higher self, or that is energy that is articulating that is what they're finding in healthy partnership. And this is why, if this is a modality right now where someone's trying to come back to someone and say, I'm ready, being like, I think that you are always in a constant state of readiness, but not in a constant state of activation, right? Because the ability by, I keep wondering, like, the space by which we feel, like the space by which we need, and like this is what we talk about, like the space by which we feel the need to energetically wind up to be ready, right, is often articulating an over feeling of energetic preparation, right? I keep wondering, there's the readying and then there's the doing. So I feel like there's a lot of that energy that is building into that and potentially moving into separation due to a lot of energy that feels like they're being wound up, right? Somebody feeling like they're being wound up by another person constantly articulating or saying to another person, you have to energetically wait for readiness. And here's the thing about it. We don't necessarily need to wait for readiness. It's the observation that readiness is built upon or based upon progress, right? It's the observation of being able to articulate and amplify what that energetic progress is that allows for that sense of being able to do something in a different fashion. So I feel like there's a lot of that work that's happening there. And for some energy right now, it's working through all of those modalities at the same time. Final card right now between the, and we're moving, final card right now between the Five of Swords in its reversal and the Emperor in its upright. We've got the Three of Cups in its reversal. And I like to see a Three of Cups in its reversal, because remember when I said this is a beautiful energy right now to get to work on things? I'm going to keep on pointing this out. This type of energy right now, absolutely wonderful in relationality to working into the context. I'll tell you right now, this type of energy, working into the context of building into things that one aspires and desires to do, right? The ability to effectively articulate upon those plans, right? Building into that pathwork of progress. This is a lot of that energy. Like this is like blueprint energy, right? This is the type of energy that is really good at helping us kind of build into the point of organization, right? Got Mars and Venus and Capricorn. Absolutely stunning energy for that. What it's not good for, I'm going to say it again, is having an emotionally driven conversation that lacks any and all direction, right? The modality by which we understand. It's a continuation and closure point of a lot of these moon relationships, which is the identification that feelings don't get anything done. Feelings are only healing when there's directions attached to them, right? Because often when another person arrives with feelings but with no direction, it feels like they've only arrived with complications, right? So that's why we do the work within, like we do the healthy work within to understand the directions that our emotions are building towards, so that we can work more, we can facilitate more easily without. And I even see right now that there may be those modalities or experiences by which others are working through. Like I feel like there's potentially, I would not be surprised right now if there are conflicts that are arising in the modality of feeling like there's an energetic lack of direction towards things. Because I keep on seeing that modality or experience, like, and I want to kind of stress this for those who are going through this, make sure that you are articulating upon those directions, right? Make sure that you're being energetically clear in relationality to what it is that, like, to what it is that one is trying to do better. Because I know, like, listen, I know how many feelings there are right now. Jupiter in Cancer with Taurus and Uranus can often create the arrival point in discovering feelings that you didn't know that you had, right? Taurus, Jupiter in Cancer, and Uranus and Taurus can often be like, oh, right? It's the understanding or the arrival point in recognizing like the nature of a feeling that one is carrying, right? But we only are able to do that when we do the work on the self, right? Because if not, right? And this is the thing, when we're not ready to navigate our emotions, we're just in the space by which we're projecting them onto everyone. So make sure, I keep wondering, like, make sure that you're utilizing good emotional hygiene, right? And good emotional hygiene, right? It's like, good emotional hygiene is the space by which it's not the fact it's not the space that we have emotions, but being able, like, and potentially a lot of them, but being able to put the emotions in places that feel like they are energetically stable. Like it's the space by which we allow for the context by which, and I keep on hearing like that modality by which like our feelings can heal things. Our feelings can build things. Our feelings can do incredible things, but only if there are directions attached to them. Because when we bring emotions to places without those directions, they do the exact opposite. Bottom of the deck on this reading, Page of Wands. There's a lot of inner child healing that's happening right now. And I want to stress this again. The problem with inner child healing is not the healing that you're trying to do when you were 6 or when you were 5. Inner child healing can often be articulated as to the healing that you do when you thought you knew everything. That's what inner child healing is, right? Because that is one of the big blind spots that we often experience with energetic children. Energetic children are always moving through the modality of being like, I think I know everything. Like, my friend, my sweet summer child. Like, right? That modality by which I did it. No, you didn't. They did not do it. It's the space by which we feel. Like, the space by which we feel we know everything is often like a sign that we know nothing. But the modality or the experience by which we understand and recognize that the journey of understanding is one that there's always something on the other horizon point. And often the spaces that we heal are those modalities or experiences by which we feel that another person, like those modalities or experiences by which we work through something. And even in the context of doing so, we recognize or identify something later on that we did not necessarily perceive. And so I feel like I want you to hold yourself gently. I'm going to say this once. Some things we can't see in the modality by which we experience them. Right? Some things we cannot see as they are happening. Some things can only be perceived in hindsight. So I want you to remember that, especially in relationality to having proportion in terms of how you perceive things and versus like how they are now. Hindsight is clear, but it's also broken. And sometimes we get too hard on ourselves on things we can see in the context of it being the past, that there was no possibility that we would have been able to see in the context of the present. So hold yourself gently, even as you're doing that type of work. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. Couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the judgment card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the World card, the final major arcana. We are going to be studying the significance of that card, the historical significance, as well as the symbology of the card. I'll be working you guys through spread applications. I'll also be presenting you a unique spread that you can take with you out of that class to help you implement the meaning of that card into your own readings. All you need to do, if you'd like to become a part of that class program, is head over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll do my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning the next class. It's a great time to join, though, if you want to bone up on a few of those other classes. You'll also, as a monthly, and if you decide to become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the library, and you'll also have the option of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your impact when we're moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I try to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. I also want to invite you guys over to my stack to learn more about a very special retreat that I'll be hosting in August. I would like to invite you to join me August 8th through 13th, as we will be traveling to the location by which the tarot was first documented to be discovered to sharpen our tarot skills, but also to learn more about the culture by which the tarot found a place to grow and thrive. We will be traveling to Tuscany, Rome, and Florence. And also anyone who participates in that retreat will have the option of receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me that comes gratis on top of that. Now, there is a $200 discount to that is expiring shortly. So if you would like to secure your spot and receive that discount, make sure you sign up sooner rather than later. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.